I'll be glad 'cause I was blessed to have you there in my life. When I look back on these days, oh, I'll look back and see your face. You were right there for me. In my dreams, I'll always see you soar above the sky. In my heart, there'll always be a place for you for all my life. I'll keep a part of you with me, and everywhere I am, there you'll be. And everywhere I am, there you'll be. Well, you showed me how it feels to feel the sky within my reach, and I'll always will remember all the strength you gave to me. Your love made me make it through. Oh, I owe so much to you. You were right there for me. In my dreams, I'll always see you soar above the sky. In my heart, there'll always be a place for you for all my life. I'll keep a part of you with me, and everywhere I am, there you'll be. 'Cause I always saw you in my light, my strength. And I want to thank you now for all the ways you were right there for me. You were right there for me. For always. In my heart, there'll always be a place for you inside. Every day I'll always keep you there with me for all my life. I'll keep a part of you with me, and everywhere I am, there you'll be. And everywhere I am, there you'll be. There you'll be.
Angelica, you have such a beautiful voice. Thank you.
so much,
Thank you so
Brother
much.
David. Thank you.
That was lovely. Where did that come from?
I found it on the internet.
Oh, okay. Well, I found it on the
It's
internet.
actually, it was a piece of music written for the movie Pearl Harbor.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, they published it, and it's really good. Diane Warren, who we've got other pieces written by that we sing here. So,
Okay.
yay. Thank
Yay.
you.
Thank you. Oh, well, so good to see all of you out there. And for those of you watching us home, welcome. We're glad that you're catching us online. But we're especially appreciative of all of you that actually come out and join us. And, happy Father's Day. This is Father's Day. And so I do have a few observations about fathers and a few puns. So Father's Day is just like Mother's Day, except on Father's Day you buy a cheaper gift. Most fathers want their sons to have things they never had, like A's on their report cards. Being a great father is like shaving. No matter how good you shave today, you still have to do it again tomorrow. And then a few puns. What did baby corn say to mama corn? Where's popcorn? And what do you call your dad when he falls through the ice? A popsicle. How do fathers exercise on the beach? By sucking in their stomachs every time they see a bikini. Why don't some fathers have a midlife crisis? This must have been written by a wife. They're stuck in adolescence. Why did the baby strawberry cry? Because his father was in a jam. What did Daddy Spider say to Baby Spider? You spend way too much time on the web. And last but not least, what did the cheerleader bring her dad for breakfast on Father's Day? Cheerios. Okay. Oh, I always do enjoy trying to find. Sometimes it's really hard coming up with things, every week trying to come up with something that you haven't already heard. But I think laughter is definitely good for the heart. So today we are continuing our exploration of Robert Brummett's book, The Quest for Wholeness, Healing Ourselves, Healing Our World. Brummett, who I was very honored to be his student when I was going to ministerial school, and I totally loved Robert. Anyway, he describes spiritual healing as the process of seeking, discovering, experiencing, and expressing our true nature, which is wholeness itself. Spiritual healing is making visible the wholeness that lies invisible within each and every one of us. To truly understand the nature of spiritual healing, we first need to understand our own true nature. Our first unity principle is really the foundation of all spiritual healing. And our unity first principle is that there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in our lives. And we call it reality. There's one reality. We call it life. There's only one life. We call it God. We call it good. We call it source. Whatever we call it by, it is one. And we are part and essence of that oneness. We are, each and every one of us, an individual expression of the divine. So this is our true nature, which is wholeness itself. The word holy in English comes from a word that means whole and complete. He opens this chapter we're studying today, which is the 5th chapter. You want to show that? There we go. He opens the chapter with this quote from Charles Fillmore, one of the founders of Unity. Charles Fillmore wrote this probably sometimes in the 30s. It wasn't published until 1954, which was actually after his death. Charles Fillmore died in 1948. But in the 30s, he had done this series of lectures across the country, and he just moved across the country giving these lectures. And he wrote this sometimes in the 30s, and it was published in the book Keep a True Lent, which was just a collection of his talks on that particular tour. So he said, God gives himself to man, and man has the power to make himself what he will. Freedom of will is man's inheritance, and he can use the freedom to build or destroy as he determines. And then if you'll give me the other slide, there we go. So I took this to just sort of change the language up a little bit. God gives itself to us, and we have the power to make ourselves what we will. Freedom of will is our inheritance, and we can use the freedom to build or destroy as we determine. God gives itself. God is being. God is life. God gives that being to each and every one of us. We express that being individually, uniquely, in our own way. And we do by being one with Spirit. We have the connection with all of the wisdom and all the guidance and all the love and all the peace and all the joy which are make up spirit. We are always in contact and can call upon those divine ideas at any time. So we are intrinsically spiritual beings, and as spiritual beings, we cannot be sick, we cannot be poor, unhappy, because we are wholeness itself as spirit. As human beings, we can be sick, poor, unhappy, and many of us are. Brummett says this is the paradox that we live with. Our potential is great, and so is our suffering. Our divinity gets lost in the guise of our humanity. Humanity is the vehicle through which we are expressing our true nature, or not. So we're spiritual beings having a human experience. That's true. But most humans believe the converse to be true. Most people believe that they are innately human and then strive to become more spiritual. But as Brummett points out, what we have done is we've just turned reality upside down. The truth of the matter is we cannot become more spiritual because our nature is spiritual. Our nature is spirit. Brummett says that wholeness does not have a particular form. We cannot judge wholeness from looking outside, looking in. We can know wholeness only through personal experience. Wholeness is the natural result of living a spirit-centered life. It is the natural result of living consciously from the authentic core of our being. It is what we call in unity living from our Christ consciousness. In the state of wholeness, we see all things from the perspective of our true essence. For Brummett, human suffering is a result of a reversed understanding of reality. Our experience of suffering is caused by our misplaced identity. Yes, we are human beings, but first and foremost, we are spiritual beings. Spiritual healing is a full realization of this truth. Human suffering is the result of believing something to be real that is not real. We have embraced the unreal as real, and as a result, we experience suffering. We embrace facts as reality, and they are not. We embrace appearances as reality, and they are not. Facts change, and appearances change. Reality does not change. You know, as an opening line in A Course in Miracles states, it says that nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. In a similar quote, the spiritual teacher and sage Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, "The real does not die. The unreal never lived. The real you is timeless and beyond birth and death. The body will survive as long as it is needed. It is not important that it should live long." For Brummett, the principle of responsibility is essential in the quest for wholeness. He writes, "Responsibility, when used with wisdom, it is an effective ally in our journey towards wholeness. Using the principle of responsibility wisely can be the key to healing and transformation. When used unwisely, without right understanding, it can cause a great deal of suffering, and it can delay our progress." For Brummett, the journey to wholeness begins when we are willing to take responsibility for our part in the healing process. To do this, we must first understand that what responsibility is and what our part is in the healing process. Without this understanding, we may create unnecessary suffering, and usually do, and we delay our healing. Brummett says that one error that we can make is to take too little responsibility for our part in the healing process. Our culture usually sees an illness as something that happens to us. This traditional view sees the sufferer as a victim of some external agent. For example, a virus, old age, heredity, or bad luck. From this viewpoint, the sufferer must turn to some external agent, such as medicine, surgery, or divine intervention, as a cure for his suffering. This view sees the patient as having little responsibility in the process except for following the directions of the healer. Brummett points out that within this framework, we can take a rather passive role. Here we see both the cause and cure originating outside of us. By contrast, a metaphysical paradigm sees the origin of all disease to be in the mind. In this view, all of the external circumstances of our lives are reflections of our beliefs, thoughts, and emotions. This view sees a person's life as a reflection of his or her consciousness. If held in mind, a false belief or negative emotion will eventually manifest itself as a malady in one's life. And this malady can appear as physical illness, emotional disorder, relationship difficulties, financial problems, or any variety of challenges. And so this system sees healing not in the application of an external agent, but in the change of one's beliefs and attitudes. The framework puts the responsibility for both the problem and the healing squarely on the person experiencing the challenge. Brummett says that the idea that each individual is responsible for his or her life experiences is like a double-edged sword. It can cut in two directions. It empowers us to be in charge of our life experiences. On the other hand, it can lead to feelings of guilt and shame. We reason, if I am creating my own suffering through my thoughts and feelings, then I must be bad, ignorant, or inept. In the chapter that we're exploring today, Brummett makes it very clear that guilt and shame are not an inherent part of a metaphysical belief system. Any spiritual teaching is subject to misunderstanding and misuse, which can create suffering rather than healing. So the truth of the matter is, we can believe, think, say, and do whatever we choose. Responsibility is recognizing that we experience consequences for whatever we believe, think, say, or do. These consequences are not rewards for being good or punishments for being bad. Consequences are simply the natural result of our beliefs, our thoughts, our words, and our actions. So the root of the word responsibility is response. As Brummett points out, the root of our responsibility lies in our response to life. We're responsible for our responses to any experience, event, or condition. We are responsible for how we perceive each experience in our lives. Our perception of each experience determines the meaning that we give it. We are responsible for the meaning that we give to each experience in our lives. Again, the spiritual teacher Nisargadatta says, you are responsible only for what you can change. All you can change is only your attitude. There lies your responsibility. Let me repeat that. You are responsible only for what you can change. All you can change is only your attitude. There lies your responsibility. Brummett doesn't quote Nisargadatta in his book, but he does quote Viktor Frankl, who makes the same observation as Nisargadatta. Frankl was a Jewish psychiatrist who spent 3 terrible years in Nazi concentration camps. Camps where more than 95% of the prisoners died. Amid these very miserable conditions, Frankl discovered a basic truth. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl wrote this: "We who lived in the concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given circumstances, to choose one's own way." The Oxford Dictionary describes attitude as a settled way of thinking or feeling about something. Attitude is a learned process. The way we grow up and the way we learn to see the world have a direct influence on how we form our judgments and behave around something that evokes certain feelings. Everyone has opinions about what they prefer and what they dislike. Don't you? These opinions or attitudes are a core component that determines how you interact with people and approach the world around you. Some people have a naturally positive attitude, while others might be more negative or even neutral. But your attitude about different things and life in general can greatly affect how you navigate through the world. Being that attitude is a learned process, the good news is that what is learned can be unlearned. In my letter that went out this week, I included a link to an article that I recommended. I found it in the magazine Psychology Today, and in her article, The Power of Unlearning, psychologist Mariana Plata writes, "Unlearning means stripping away the beliefs and ways to act, to behave, and to live that have been imposed by our upbringing, by our education, by the society we live in. It means challenging everything we've come to know as the way things are supposed to be and embracing the way things are. And more importantly, choosing what things resonate and don't resonate with each of us." At the end of chapter 5, which we are exploring today, Brummett reminds us that trying to determine the cause of an event or a condition can lead to endless and fruitless speculation. However, he says that we can adopt an attitude about the causes of the events and conditions in our lives that may be tremendously empowering. Adopting this attitude is like playing a game, he says. He calls it the creator game. And as I prepare to bring this talk to a close, I'm going to read what Brummett says about this game, so you can decide if you want to play it yourself. So this is what he says about the creator game. He says, "We can choose to play the game if we wish, simply because it may empower us to do so. The game is optional. No one is required to play. In fact, you can't play it if you believe that you're required to. To play the creator game, we must be willing to drop another game if we are playing it. The game we must drop is the right-wrong game, and also known as the good-bad game. We cannot play right-wrong and creator at the same time. The two are incompatible. We must let go of all to play the creator game, we must let go of all blame and judgment. We must let go of all notions of things being good or bad, right or wrong. In place of the judgment of good and bad, we simply see that some things make life work well and some things don't. Some things cause suffering and some things cause satisfaction. We term what works and causes satisfaction skillful. We call what doesn't work and causes suffering unskillful. In this game, neither one is better than the other. Neither one is good and neither one is bad. Another game that we must drop if we are to play the creator game is the victim game. The victim game is similar to right and wrong. This game always sees someone, usually me, as the victim of some great injustice perpetrated by him or her or them or the universe in general. And Ain't It Awful is the theme song for players of this victim game. And this too must go if we are to be creators. So to play the creator game, we assume that we are 100% responsible for everything we experience. We assume this responsibility simply because we choose to. Is it true? Who knows? This may be an unanswerable question. Perhaps the ultimate answer is it's up to us whether or not it's true. So once upon a time, there lived a very wise sage. His home, of course, was a temple in the Himalayas. His wisdom was renowned. His tales of his great wisdom had spread throughout the land. It was even said that there was no question that he could not answer correctly. Upon hearing this, a very wily young lad from a nearby village requested an audience of the sage, and he was granted the request, and he stood before the sage. He held his hands behind his back and put out this question. "O great sage, I am holding a bird behind me. Is the bird I am holding alive or dead?" The bird was actually alive. If the sage responded dead, the lad would simply produce the living bird and prove him wrong. If the sage responded alive, the clever and ruthless lad would wring the bird's neck and produce a dead bird. The boy stood with a smug smile on his face, waiting for the sage to reply. The wise man closed his eyes for several seconds. Then a charitable smile appeared on his face. He opened his eyes and replied gleefully, "Son, the answer to that question is in your hands." Knowing that the answer lies in our hands, we can play our creator game. To do this, we simply assume that we have created everything we experience. We are the authors of our lives. Our work, then, is to pay attention to what we have created. Why would I create a disease for my experience, you may ask? Why would I create suffering for myself? I don't know. Take a look. Listen. Let the experience itself answer the question for you. Don't be analytical, but just continue to live with the assumption that you are the author of your life. Answers will come, but most likely not in ways that you expect them to. The goal is not to figure out things, but to truly become the author of your life. The way to become the author of your life is to assume that you always have been. Take a look at what you've created. If you take responsibility for this, then you will gradually receive the power to consciously create the life you desire. Brummett ends this chapter with these words. Once again, this game is not for everyone. If you choose not to play, it's okay. It doesn't mean anything if you've chosen not to play. If you do choose to play it, remember that you have created all of it. The satisfaction, the suffering, the joy, the sorrow, the whole catastrophe. Have fun. So as I bring this talk to a close, let us remember that we begin practicing true responsibility when we acknowledge our responsibility. Our responsibility for how we interpret and give meaning to each experience of our lives. Our responses to life are based upon these interpretations and meanings. Our future experiences are conditioned by our response to each experience in this present moment. So moment by moment, we build our present. We build our future from the present. So let's prepare for our meditation. So just relax in your seat.
The power of now is always present, nowhere to be than where you are. The power of now flows so easily. The power of now is always perfect, nothing to be than who you are. The power of now unfolds so peacefully.
So we just allow ourselves to be totally present. We open our hearts and we open our minds to this present moment. We allow any thoughts of things that happened before, anything of thoughts of things happening later, we let those go as we bring our attention fully to this present moment. And I have an affirmation for you. I am the co-creator of my life experiences. Can you repeat that with me? I am the co-creator of my life experiences. Just live with that for just a little bit. I am the co-creator of my life experiences. And say to yourself, I am. I am. Each and every one of us, when we say, I am, what are we saying? We're saying that I exist. This is something you totally understand if you just open yourself to it and realize, I am. I exist. There's a story in the Old Testament where Moses, when he had an experience of God, and God had invited him and asked him and told him to go and to Pharaoh and to tell Pharaoh to set my people free. And Moses said, well, who am I to say sent me? And the words in the Bible say that God said, I am that I am has sent me. Tell him that. I am that I am has sent me. And my friends, the I am is the same as your I am. The I am is the same that is each and every one of yours I am, because the great I am is only one, and we are part of that I am. We are one with that I am. And every time we say I am, we are speaking the truth of our divine essence, one with Spirit. So I'm going to invite you now just to hold that I am in your heart. And we're going to just take a moment, just a little while. We're going to rest in the silence. I am the co-creator of my life experience, and I am. We'll rest just for a little while in the silence. Take a deep breath. I want to give you an assignment. This week, I want you to use that affirmation. I am the co-creator of my life experiences, and I want you to sit with it every time you use it. Even write it down several times. I am the co-creator of my life experiences, and just write it down and sit with it and sort of journal what comes to mind when you hear that. Then I also want you to say these words: I am responsible for my life experiences. I am responsible for my life experiences. And I want you to sit with those, that statement. I am responsible for my life experiences. And I want you to explore those words. What emotions, what memories, images come into your awareness. Spend some time and write about that. Do a little journaling. See what that brings you. So thank you, everyone, for being here, and bless each and every one of you. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Susan.
All of our classes, programs, and services are made possible by your generous donations. Our heartfelt thanks for your continuous support, and we've created many easy ways to donate, which you can find on our website.
And also, we do, for those of you here, our love offering box is right up there, right as you come in from the foyer. And if you can place any of your love offerings there in that box. And again, thank you You all are the ones that make all of this happen, and we appreciate your generosity. And we appreciate all of our volunteers, for all of you that do so much for us. So thank you for your talent, your treasure, and your generosity of your time. Thank you so much.
And now we invite you to stand up and let's open our hearts and minds in gratitude as we close by speaking out loud or silently to ourselves our love offering prayer, followed by the peace song and a prayer for protection.
Divine love in me and through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Surrounds us.
I am light.
The love of God enfolds us. And the power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. And wherever we are, God is.
I am divine.
And my friends, you truly are. And thank you so much. And please join us upstairs for refreshments. Thank you.